So we're going to re-look at transformations one more time, and we just need to know the rules. Remember, if you're adding or subtracting, whether you're inside or outside, you are shifting. Inside is the x and opposite, outside is the y and regular. Okay. If you're multiplying, if it's bigger than 1, it's a stretch, or if it's a fraction between 0 and 1, then it is a shrink in the x or y direction, depending whether you're inside, x and opposite, outside, y and regular. Negatives are flips over the x and y axis, doesn't matter where you are. So the questions you're going to ask yourself, is it inside? It's x and opposite. Is it outside? It's y and regular. Negatives are flips, no matter where you are, it's opposite. Okay, so now that you know that, let's go ahead and go through some notes so that you can now do the questions. All right, so this right here, is it inside your parentheses? Yes. So it's x and opposite. So again, inside is x and opposite. So I have -3. Again, if you're adding and subtracting, it's a shift on the x and y axis. So now I know I'm inside, so it's adding or subtracting on the x axis, and it's going to be opposite of what you think. So I'm going to subtract 3 on the inside. It's going to be opposite of what I think. So what is opposite of -3 is? +3, so I'm going to shift right. Okay, so I'm just going to go through a few of these to make sure you're okay. Is this -3 inside or outside? Is it inside the parentheses or outside the parentheses? So right now I have subtract 3. It is outside the parentheses, which means outside is y and regular. So that means it's my y-axis and what you think. So think of your y-axis. Your axis is going up and down. -3 regular will take it down. Because if you think of in fact, let me just graph it real quick. Here's your y, here's your x. So this is 1, 2, and 3, and this is -1, -2, and -3. So again, with the y-axis going up is positive, going down is negative. All right, now that's shift. So we're talking about adding and subtracting inside or outside. Now we're going to look at multiplication. Multiplication, sometimes they don't put the times there, but you need to understand if I have 3x, it means 3 times x. In this case, I have 1/3 times x, it means 1/3 times x. So you're multiplying small. Why do I say it's small? Because according to your notes, if it's between 0 and 1, in fact, let's just say that less than 1, so between 0 and 1, right, then it's small. So it's a shrink. All right, but because you're inside, it's going to be x and opposite. So I'm multiplying small inside my parentheses, which means it's x and opposite. So what is the opposite of shrinking? Stretching. And which way am I stretching? Because I'm inside in the x direction. Same thing with multiplying on the outside is y and regular. So again, I have a fraction, so that means I'm shrinking. So I'm multiplying by a small number between 0 and 1. It's outside, that way it's y and regular. So it's going to be shrinking just like I think. So it's a vertical shrink because up and down is vertical, left and right is horizontal. All right, negatives are opposite no matter where they are. So again, usually this will be outside. You think flip it over the y, but it's opposite, so it's flip it over the x. So what does negatives mean? Negatives mean reflect. So again, back to our notes, negatives are flips. All right, reflect, where is that? It's outside. Okay, so it's the opposite no matter where it is. So it's going to be reflect over the x-axis. Inside is exactly what you thought anyway. It's opposite in the x direction, so it's going to be flip over the y. So reflect, inside, x and opposite, so reflect over the y. So that's just a quick recap. If I went too fast for you, you do need to go back to when we first did transformations. I do that at a slower pace. Now that you know that, because at this point we have done more than one function, I want to make sure that you understand I can give you any one of these functions, whether it's linear, y equals mx plus b, quadratic, and in quadratic I can give it to you in vertex form, exponential, which is abx, absolute value, which looks like absolute value with an x, square root, even cube root, any function at all. And all you need to understand is where the parenthesis is. And this is the biggest thing. The parenthesis, even if they give you a parenthesis in the question, is wherever the x is. So you find the x, you find the parenthesis. So in y equals mx plus b, where the x is, that's the parentheses. In quadratic, where the x is, that's the parentheses. So this is the parenthesis. In exponential, even though there's a parenthesis with b, it's wherever the x is. In absolute value, wherever the x is, and in square root, wherever the x is. That means I can give you any one of these questions and you can tell me inside and outside and what it is doing. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples and then you're going to do the rest. So it looks like I have an exponential function. So I'm going to look at wherever the x is, that's the parentheses. So that's the parentheses there. If it helps you understand it a little bit better, you can go ahead and put parentheses so you can see it. So I don't care what the rest is looking at. I'm just looking at the parentheses. So what do I see in here? It's -1 inside the parentheses. So is it inside or outside? It is inside. All right. Because it's inside, it's x and opposite. So x opposite. All right. Are you adding, subtracting? Are you multiplying, or are you dealing with a negative? I'm adding and subtracting. So I'm subtracting 3. So now think about it. If I'm inside and it's opposite of what I think in the x direction and I subtract 3, what do I actually do? It's the opposite, so it's going to be +3, which means go right 3. And of course, I can check this with Desmos, but again, I'm just going to do the rules and then we can do the Desmos piece in class. All right, I'm going to do one more. So again, let's find the parentheses wherever the x is. So the x is right here. So I can draw in a parentheses if it makes it, a little bit easier to see. This time, this is not inside the parentheses, it's where? Outside the parentheses. So is it inside or outside? This is outside. All right. Outside the parentheses, x and opposite or y and regular? It's y and regular. It's just whatever you think. So is it adding, subtracting? Is it multiplying, or is it negative? It is adding 3. Okay, now because it's outside in the y direction, it's exactly what you think. Therefore, adding 3 is going to just be adding 3. So in the y direction, what does adding 3 do? It goes up 3. Okay, so what I want you to do is kind of use those rules to kind of walk through this. And then I'm going to do one of these. Which one looks the hardest? I guess maybe this one. I'll do this one and you can do these two. So again, identify the x. So here's my x. So that's the parentheses with the x. All right, so I have a few things, and what it's saying is I'm going to start from left to right. So I'm going to start, this is the inside the parentheses. So this right here is outside. And what am I doing? I'm multiplying. So I'm going to multiply times 3 on the outside. So what does multiplying by 3 on the outside do? So if you don't remember what multiplication is, if you're bigger than 1, it's a stretch. If it's between 0 and 1, it's a shrink. So right now it's bigger than 1, so it is a stretch. Because it's outside is y and regular, so it's in the y direction, exactly what I think. So this is a stretch by a factor of 3. And I guess I should say actually a vertical stretch. All right, so that's that first one. Then I'm going to come, this is just the b, the growth factor. I'm going to come here. This is inside. Inside is x and opposite. What does +2 do? You think it goes to the right, but it's opposite, so it's going to go to the left. So this is going to be left 2. And then I have another number here, -3. This is outside, which is y and regular. Subtract 3 goes down 3, and then down. So you're just doing all the transformations from left to right. And if I went ahead and typed this in Desmos one thing at a time, once I start with the parent function, in this case would be 2 to the x power. If I started off with 2 to the x power and did 3 by itself, I would see it would vertically stretch. Then if I added +2 on the x, I'd see it would move to the left 2. And then if I added -3, I would see it would go down 3. So go ahead and do these from the left to the right, these two. All right, then I'm just going to do one more. Again, which one looks more complicated? I guess they kind of look similar. I'm going to do this one. You do that one. All right, so again, from left to right, given this, what transformations make it look like this? So you have to identify what has changed from one thing to another. So looking from here to here, what has changed? So here I see a negative, and here I don't see a negative. So we're going to think about what do negatives do. Here I see inside, I see -2, and here there's nothing there's no -2. And then finally outside, I don't see anything here, which means it's +0 because there's nothing is 0. And then now, instead of it being 0, it has changed to -2. So now we're going to think what that does. If I take any function and I put a negative outside, what is that going to do? It's going to flip it, right? And remember, negatives are flips opposite no matter what it is. So because it's y, I would now know that it's going to flip over the x-axis because it's opposite. So To go from here to here, just the negative part, I flipped over the x-axis. Then I went from -2 to 0, to nothing. There's nothing inside, right? So what did I do? To go from -2 to 0, I actually, what? Added 2. So if I added 2, because it's x and opposite, it means what? What does adding 2 x and opposite mean? Left 2. And then finally, I went from nothing to -2 outside, which means I subtracted 2 to get from here to here. So from here to here, I'm going to subtract 2. And what does that do in the y direction? If I have -2 in the y direction, it's exactly what I think. So this is going to be down 2. Now, I don't trust this, so I'm going to actually check this with a calculator. And instead of typing the exact same thing, I'm going to type in something that's kind of obvious to see, and that's going to be a quadratic function. So I'm going to start off with parentheses, x squared. And you can type this into C, but it's kind of harder to see with a square root. So I'm going to do it with x squared. So I'm going to say this is what I start off with. Zoom out just to make sure that I did this correctly. All right, this is what I start off with. What happens if I put a negative out? Does it flip over the x-axis? Yes, it does. Okay, so that part is right. All right, then what happens if I do left 2? So how do I do left 2, which is +2 on the inside, right? If I do +2, does it go to the left 2? Yes, it does. So that's okay. And then what if I do -2 on the outside? -2, does it go down? Yes, it does. So we're saying that if I apply everything at the same time, so this was from -2 to 0, I added 2, and from 0 to -2, I subtracted 2. Put in all of those transformations, it flips over the x-axis, goes upside down, goes left 2, down 2, which is perfect. Okay, so there's a way that you can check it. Square roots is very, very difficult to see. So is everything else, really, except x squared is the easiest one. So just make the function x squared and do whatever transformations you're doing to x squared to just double check your work. So again, you're going to do this question, which is exponential. Let's practice.